live, but hello everyone. It's Rekt Radio episode 94, I think. Can't really see. My screen space is all fucking unusual today because there's a big red line where I threw that sword at the screen and it broke. And I do regret that at this point because it's pretty annoying to work with a screen like this. But anyway, welcome, Spencer. We had some big airdrop go on. I know you're a big pudgy holder. You must be excited. But what's going on? How are we, guys?
I mean, it's a good day. It's a good day for me. It's a good day for Web3. It's a good day but it's especially a good day for me. So I'm happy with how yesterday went. I'm sorry about your monitor. I really thought that was some sort of like shit posty, like, you know, you cropped it in, and I was like, wow, that's a really good Photoshop job. Because I know you're the king of like the AI edits, and so I was like, wow, you really did a great. But you've actually, this was, you were that frustrated by the claim?
No, actually, I did this from something different. I was short a lot of Tesla and it bounced. I lost many hundreds of thousands. But anyway, that it's a different time, and the claim was going on at the same time, so it kind of was a culmination of both.
And it was a javelin throw. Or how did you just?
Actually, I just went whoosh, and hit it perfectly, and yeah, it's regrettable. You know, I don't know. Maybe I need to have mental issues, but I have to buy a new screen now.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are.
No signs of that so far.
Yeah, no. That's it. I don't know. We don't have to. There's no excuse. Next time I won't throw the sword. I'll make sure to fake throw the sword. And yeah, here we are. Here's the show. Now what?
Yeah, it feels like you should get a remove all swords from your trading area.
Yeah. Might commit seppuku if the market doesn't go down.
No, I think you need to give the screen a sword. It should be a fair fight, you know? Like, you're unarmed. You need more swords. That's clearly the solution.
Maybe. Yeah, something. No weaponry by the desk any longer. Especially medieval weaponry.
So what do we think here? Pengu, higher or lower? $3 billion it came. Where is it right now? Is it still at 3 or is it lower now?
It's right around 3 right now. It dipped as low as maybe like a little bit under 2.5. But like this is not unhealthy, right? I think if you look at this chart, it's like people are claiming and selling. There were definitely some claim issues, and you can kind of see this, right? You can see in the chart when the claims started working. And so I think that was kind of like, it's a little unfortunate because really what probably wouldn't have happened is like that big candle up, right? It went to like 7-8 bill right out the gates. Because claims weren't working. So you basically could only buy and not really sell, right? And so it had to go up. But as claims started working, it drifted down, but it hasn't gone too low. And I think like 2-3 bill range is kind of the interesting thing. And the conversations I've been having with a lot of people is like, how do you comp this, right? Do you comp this as a meme coin? It is a Solana meme coin. Or do you comp this as like an NFT coin, right? And so the question is, what's the better comp? Is the better comp Ape coin? Or is the better comp like something like WIF or Pepe, right? And so I think a lot of people are saying, okay, if this is a meme coin, somewhere in the range of in between WIF and Pepe kind of makes sense, right? It has a lot of attention in the way that Pepe did. It's on Solana. Like there's a lot of things that make sense to that range. Now, if you comp this against something like Ape, right? Like, you know, well, there's sort of two things there, right? Like you know, Ape coin and meme coin are two like NFT coins, right? So is this thought of as an NFT coin or is this thought of as a meme coin, right? And right now it's trading more like a meme coin than an NFT coin. The other view too, though, is like, do you comp this against ApeCoin now or ApeCoin last cycle? Like the very bullish case, right? Obviously we all know Bored Apes, you know, dropped ApeCoin. ApeCoin went to 27 billion FDV at some point, like all this nutso stuff. But at that time, Bored Apes was like a 3 billion, you know, market like FDV, like NFT, right? Pudgy Penguins is like 1.5 billion at the time of this airdrop. So like, it's kind of interesting to see the differences. Like what is this cycle? Or maybe we shouldn't be comping it. Maybe the wrong approach. Maybe it's just a different thing, right? Like there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. And reality is, I think that, you know, you saw Moonshot having its highest volume day ever yesterday. And that's one of the most interesting indicators to me, because the question on Solana is like, okay, the Solana thesis for this cycle, I think, is like, Solana is clearly the easiest user experience to onboard to do all this stuff, right? And so, like, when you see a Solana launch, like the thing you want is like normies buying, right? And the thesis on Pudgy Penguins is Pudgy Penguins has GIFs, they have YouTube, they have TikTok, they have Instagram, huge reach, right? And so that's the people paying the fees on Moonshot and on-ramping from fiat and buying a little bit of the coin. In aggregate, that kind of retail really matters this cycle. I think that's the thing. It's a little bit different this cycle from last cycle. Last cycle was like Silicon Valley tech bros that had a bunch of Ethereum from way back when coming on chain and doing DeFi. That was the liquidity that mattered. This cycle, it's like you see from Chill Guy, you see from even, XRP, like I think to some degree is like these TikTokers being like, if XRP hits the price of Bitcoin, like I'm going to be a trillionaire, like blah, 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 right? And so really like the TikTok native, Moonshot native retail, I think is adopting this. And you see that from Moonshot having such a big day yesterday.
Yeah. To answer some of those from my perspective, I was comping it more against the meme coins, if I'm honest. So I thought it would be more like against a whiff and bonk. For me, I think this is an incredibly successful launch. Like the thing is, it's all recency bias, right? Like because it started at some ridiculous level and someone bought it at like 5 trillion, everyone's like, oh, that's the level it should be. It's like if it started at 1 and it moved up to 3, everyone would be like, wow, what a successful launch. Like 3 is above whiff and bonk, and you know how hard it is to keep a Solana meme coin above a certain level. Like it is unbelievably tough. Like there's thousands of coin each day. Like the fact that whiff and bonk have not rallied from their level tells you, like it's not as easy as on ETH. Like there's so many winners each day. Like you own some Pengu, there's another hot coin next week. Like people will sell. So if it keeps even around this level, I think it will be a massive success. I really do. I think like maybe it got burdened with like crazy expectations, but for me, like I felt like this was just like he knocked it out of the park to even get up to 3 for a Solana meme coin. Like to actually flip whiff and bonk, I thought was kind of crazy. And then I think the next thing is like, yeah, obviously abstract's coming. There's clearly going to be some sort of like juice. Maybe they get an airdrop. Maybe they get something. Maybe that causes it to rally. But if it just stays around this level until that abstract news, I think that would be a big win. I think that really would be a big win.
Yeah, well, I think maybe
I was just going to say I agree, but go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I think the one thing that like is a little bit unfortunate, as you said, like I agree that I think this is kind of a fantastic launch, right? The one thing that's maybe a little bit unfortunate is that like basically none of the retail that didn't get the airdrop, just Moonshot bought, is in profit right now. And that's where a lot of your sort of snowball effect from social media is like these influencers love to be like, I'm up 80 bajillion% on my coin. Like you could be too if you follow my trading tips or whatever, is a lot of like the TikTok kind of content that goes very viral, right? And you have huge P&Ls from airdrops, right? But you don't have huge P&Ls from really trading this unless you were shorting it. Now, that can all change very quickly, and that's what can snowball. And I think sort of, Mando, to your point too, like I agree. I think abstract is a really good catalyst, but it's a good catalyst as a narrative more so than anything else, right? Which is like, if that TikTok audience, if that sort of normie audience gets on the, oh, we should be excited about abstract train, then it's very good. But for that to happen, like some of the traders need to be in profit. The question is how many bought yesterday at good prices and how many bought at bad prices. And I think a lot bought at bad prices, and that's the biggest thing working against Pengu right now.
Yeah. I don't think that no one's going to have that story though, right? With Pengu, it's not like it started from zero. It started from at such a high level. I don't think.
But this is the challenge. This is the competition. It's like any other meme coin that came from Pump Fun or something has that story, right? This is what if you comp it against a lot of meme coins, this is what it doesn't have that all the others have. Chill Guy, right? How many people went from 0 to bajillions on Chill Guy? Like this is your competition. If you're competing against other meme coins, that's the thing you don't have is a community of people that just absolutely printed from nothing on Solana.
Yeah, because right now it's just like a long-term holder liquidity event. Like, and it's going to be hard to flip that narrative. You're right. It's kind of.
How did it get so many holders?
Well, the claim was massive, right? Like our estimates is like there's in the millions of potential claim, because like the community claim part was like ETH OGs, Solana OGs. It seems to be that they did a pretty big push to get a lot of wallets eligible for small amounts of claims. When you look at claims, right? And I tweeted about this yesterday that I got a lot of grief for, which, and understandably so. Like, if you look at the holder base of Pengu, there's more people that hold it than Whiff, right? But if you look at it versus like Meme Land, there is not more people that hold it than Meme Land, right? And so it's trending in that direction. But meme was, I think, a better comp for like $sign meme from meme land is a better comp for like holder accounts, because that was a similar, like, they launched with a strategy where the intention was to have a lot of people hold it, and they basically just gave it to a lot of people, right? And so I think that is definitely interesting. That being said, again, like, if you look at kind of where it's trending up in a really good way. Now, the interesting thing about that is also the the percentage of what's claimed. So one of the things that's kind of we've been looking at numbers wise on our end has been what percent of Pudgy Penguin holders have claimed and what percent of the tokens available to non-Pudgy Penguin holders have been claimed, right? And it's about twice the percent of eligible Pudgies have claimed than eligible non-Pudgies. And this number has stayed pretty consistent. Now, the question is, what percent? So this is an 88-day period. At the end of 88 days, if you didn't claim, it's locked in the contract and effectively burnt, right? My suspicion is that there is a fair number of this other category that's ETH OG, Solana OG, where OG means basically dead wallet. And so this is sort of the like antagonistic forces here. Is this could either mean there is a large supply overhang that is not yet in the market, or it could mean that actually the amount of circulating supply, like there is actually fewer tokens than you think there is, right? And we won't really know that till day 88, but I think it's something that like that will decide a lot of like when is a good entry, when is a good exit, etc. on this trade. Is like, what are you like how are these numbers progressing?
What happened to tokens that are unclaimed?
They're just stuck in the contract forever.
Yeah. Okay.
A question real quick. What is the worth of those OG ETH and Solana like per wallet airdrops? I think that's like the big reason. Like I had no incentive personally to like go back and deal with that shit. And I feel like that's gonna be most people because isn't it pretty small?
I think it's about 2,000 tokens.
Yeah. Okay, so 2,000 tokens, I don't even know where's Pengu at.
It's like 3 cents. So yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of people probably just won't even deal with like transferring ETH to an old wallet, et cetera, just to claim that low amount of money. I feel like so I feel like you're right. Like all that supply is just going to go poof most likely.
And it's a lot of supply, right?
Yeah.
But the sort of genius thing about this is if you look on CoinMarketCap about Pengu, right? Like it's because I think one of the challenges too could have been like, was Pudgy Penguins a seen as a VC token, right? That's the debt. Like meme coins, the whole thing is that they're not VC tokens, and obviously Pudgy Penguins is venture backed, right? But like what you see is on CoinMarketCap, it's a market cap of 2.1 billion with an FDV of 3 billion. That's actually like a really high market cap to FDV ratio for a venture backed token. And so part of the results of that is like because of the way that they did the airdrop and potentially like those not getting claimed, like that number is quite high, which is really good for sort of people coming in and looking at metrics that a lot of people look at when they trade meme coins.
What happened? Were investors locked, or did they just got them? Because with Rekt, we just gave everyone their tokens.
I don't believe that they just gave everyone their tokens, but I'm not sure the details.
Fair enough. Yeah, we just like sometimes it feels as though like it's just cleaner to have everything out there. Like if investors want to sell, they can sell. If they don't, they don't. But that's fair enough. So yeah, this has been an interesting trade. Like I mean, where were Pudgy's trading a few months ago? They're trading like 4 or 5 ETH. I remember them starting to move from that sort of level at one stage.
I mean, they went as high as like 20 ETH like early this year, and then they really retraced as low as like 8 or 7 ETH like the last, even like as recent as a month and a half ago or so. Right. And then sort of apes caught a bid, penguins caught a bid. And so, I mean, there have been a lot of opportunities to enter this trade. I think one of the other like compounding variables on it is like, ETH finally got a bid. Thank God. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt, but I have a lot of ETH, and it still feels not great, but it felt really bad when it was at 2,000.
Yeah, Jesus, that was a tough time. Now Solana feels like the horse that everyone hates.
Rotate, yeah, permanent rotation. So, what about you as a massive Pudgy whale? Like, did you use this as a liquidity event? Are you still holding Pengu? Did you buy more of anything? Did you sell any penguins? I mean, like, if you're a long-term investor, how does something like this, a massive airdrop, stack up against your Pudgy investment? Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that it's kind of interesting, right? Because a lot of decisions that we make as a fund are kind of different from what most people have to think about. We did de-risk a little bit of our position into this airdrop, and we've been fairly transparent about that. Definitely a little bit too early to. We haven't really sold much of the airdrop though. I think like if you look kind of every major airdrop has like a period of time where the airdroppers just sell. And unless there's some sort of major negative catalyst or something's really screwed up, like a big recovery. I mean, if you look at the first day of ApeCoin, it's just like down only. And then it rips in the next couple of days. If you look at the first few days of Blur, it was down only. And so, I'll be honest, for me personally, it's been quite the like endeavor of sitting on my hands. But it's like sit on your hands and sweat it out for 2 days and then like retire the bloodline or a couple of days or however long it takes. Like, I don't think this is a coin that just like goes to zero, right? You see a lot of drops that are just like mismanaged. You see people that can't do stuff. And like one of the things that's like interesting too is as an NFT person, like you guys, I count as NFT people, but like people who have been knowledgeable on NFTs for cycles, right? Like we think of what Pudgy Penguins does is like, all right, they did the Walmart thing. They have this giant Giphy. Like it's just, we've known this for so long. I don't want to say it feels played out, but it's not like exciting, right? If a GIF does 1 billion views on Pudgy, like no one bats an eyelash in our circles. What I think will really make or break this is like, that is not true for the Solana meme coin audience, right? They don't know about this company. They don't know about this force. And, for NFT companies, I think the last year, 2 years has felt like trying to like run through molasses, right? Like nothing you do matters. I mean, Doodles has like one of the most incredible partnerships announcements for like just general like knowledge of a brand, 100 million cups at McDonald's, and like nobody cares, right? And you got to think like one of the questions was, well, is that because they're an NFT project? Is that because they're an NFT project on ETH? Like, is there more excitement somewhere else in the ecosystem? And I got to say, when I was first hearing rumors of Pengu, I was skeptical about it because I thought, look, like Pudgy has a good thing going. They can just do abstract. There's a pretty like normalized outcome. With Pengu, it's a real wild card, right? And I mean, if you look at this now, this was absolutely the right move. I mean, they went from 10 ETH to 35 ETH, right? Off of just the announcement. Then after they airdropped $100,000 the token, they're back to like 18 ETH. Like they're 2x the price they were before, plus they gave people money. Like, oh my God, is this the best thing they could have done for their ecosystem? And I think you got to look at this and say like, wow, it must just be that like something structurally about the Ethereum NFT market, which was where they were playing, is harder to move price by bullish sentiment than like Solana meme coin market, right? And like that's not something that I think was 100% obvious before, but like if you look at this, I don't see how you refute that given what happened.
Yeah, look, I think it's gonna be an interesting play from here. Like I agree, like NFT, it was a risk. I think it paid off. I think I mean, I've known this from Rekt. Like it does, meme coins is just the instrument. You get a lot more holders. Like 300,000 people holding your token is a big deal, right? Like a lot of different people now own an instrument. I think it was probably a risk which is now paid off. I think it's probably fairly priced where it is right now. I think what you're really playing for is like those short-term dynamics that we just spoke about. Like, does it get bought up into the claim not being fully claimed? Does it get bought up into an abstract sort of event? It feels slightly different than the Ape one because Ape, if you actually remember, really rallied because they did a huge sale in Ape, and everyone was like, "We don't have enough Ape." Before that, it was trading okay, but it wasn't trading. It was like
if you remember, the first really big rally was actually they did a sale of merchandise in Ape, $9.
Right. So like that was it. Like the real
what market cap was that? If you can ask real quick.
9 mil FTV, but I don't remember the market cap.
Was
that comp like that? Okay, gotcha.
So it came at 9, but then it kind of like traded around there for a little bit. It edged up, it edged down, and then when they did the big sale, that's when it hit 24, and then it never hit that level ever again. So I think it was again. That may be similar with what Luca does with like maybe he does something with abstract, or maybe he does something with this claim a bit of a pump. But
I mean, calling a spade, they did the other side drop and then never released other side, right? And so I think the thing is like the readiness of abstract is much like we don't know what the world would have looked like had Yuga just like released other side and had a full product ready to go that did stuff with the we don't know what that world would have looked like, right? I'm not saying it matters, right? It may certainly not matter. It's a very reasonable take, but like I think what we see for Pengu into abstract is like ApeCoin into other side, but like there actually is an other side ready to go, which is abstract. And I think a lot of people are just sort of like, oh, abstract. But like if you look at what abstract does, it is pretty interesting, right? Abstract, I think, is the closest to the Solana like user experience in terms of ease of onboarding on an EVM chain. Does that matter? I don't know. It may not. But certainly like ease of onboarding experience is a big reason that Hyperliquid is doing well. Is a big reason that like
so can you break that down? Why is that?
So like the whole concept of abstract, and again, I think that this is not super like everything, oh, like abstract, whatever, some L2, right? But really what abstract is like abstract is a chain where the main way that you make a wallet is social sign-in through privy. And so and there's a lot of ramifications of that. One of which is, for example, you can put privy in a Unity game, which is kind of really difficult to do with the way that wallets connect generally in Web3, where you have like a wallet that's a MetaMask or something that's like a Chrome extension, right? You can sign up and create a wallet with an email address, right? There are other ways to do it, but that's sort of the main idea. And the main idea is you take that wallet around. And so instead of having a user experience that's based on using an externally managed account, which is like your sort of Chrome extension, you have a wallet that's predicated on a social login. Now, this is not quite as secure, right, as what we're used to Web3 being. But I think one of the bets here is nor is like having Phantom Wallet on your phone when you didn't save the private keys, nor is having BonkBot, right? Like one of the interesting parts of this cycle is a move away, I think, from the like we are all about self-sovereignty, not your keys, not your crypto, to like we are willing to sacrifice some amount of that for ease of onboarding because we realize that true normies are not going to go read like transactions, right? And so I think that now, is that a strong enough narrative to carry a chain? I don't know. But there's a lot of more subtle stuff too done that's like, you can be the paymaster for someone's transaction. So you can pay the gas fee for someone else's like thing that they've signed, which is a very similar concept to Solana, right? There's a few of these like very nuanced things where like it's very clear what Saigar and the formerly Frame team have done with Abstract is make it a chain that is meant to be as close as you can get to the Solana like normie onboarding experience, but on an EVM chain.
And where are they on that? Like, have they got like big partnerships for on-ramp and that sort of stuff? Like,
yes, I mean they've announced mainnet, in January. There's a fair number of projects building on it. You've got MoonPay sort of integrating with it. Like, there is a lot of stuff kind of happening around the abstract ecosystem. Is it enough stuff? Is it? I don't know, right? Like we'll see. But it certainly feels like they are ready to deliver something that actually exists, right? Which is not really what happened with other side. And to be fair, like what other side aimed to do is not something that you probably could have delivered that quickly. Like it was a really ambitious thing, perhaps too ambitious, but delivering an L2 that has a login concept that's more similar to Solana and therefore is better for normie onboarding is accomplishable in this time frame.
Okay, so maybe it is a bigger deal than that. Than other side. Obviously, the other side was it never got crazy. The hype died down. Then the coin didn't really live up after that. But
also like it could totally just be the same thing.
Yeah, it could totally just be the same thing. But and I wonder after abstract, what do you think? What do you think for Pengu? Does it just return to just being a meme coin? Do you think the
well, I think one of the things that's like the biggest question is like, what is the bigger thing? Like, it's not obvious to me that abstract is the bigger thing versus Pengu, right? Like, it may be that Pengu is the bigger thing at the end of the day, right? Like, one view that you could have of Pengu is a meme coin launched by the Pudgy Penguins team, right? Very differently, like when, that sounds bullish to me, right? And you could say like abstract is an L2 launched by the Pudgy Penguins team. We know Luca and team are good builders. We know that they got, Saigar is a great, developer. Like they have resources, right? To what degree are these really interwoven? We'll have to see, right? One of the most interesting things I think is, we'll see if they do this. I don't know. But like what I think could be very interesting is like one of the biggest challenges for building an L2 right now is it's very hard to get native L2 tokens exchange listed. Like you don't see any of the tokens native to Blast on, you know, Binance, right? For like their own native companies. You don't see any of that happens on really, I mean, you see some on Arbitrum, something, but it's very rare, right? And so the biggest challenge if you're launching an L2 is how do you have an ecosystem with native tokens that have high market caps that are interesting to trade? Like you can have all the DeFi infrastructure in the world, but if you have nothing to trade with it, then like no one's going to stick around, right? And so one of the things they could do is just bridge a lot of Pengu to abstract, right? And suddenly you have a coin that has multi-billion dollars, you know, if they bridge enough, like you have a coin that's already exchange listed. And so suddenly all of your DeFi, all of your stuff has a really interesting thing. And oh, by the way, what drives lots of volume across everything is like anytime you have coins trading in different venues, right? So what percent of all volume is market makers arbing between DEX and SEX? A lot. If you then introduce, okay, now you have DEXs on two different chains that you need to arb as well as the SEX, then like suddenly the amount of volume that you can get on abstract chain just from arbing against the price of Pengu could be really substantial, right? And so that's where there's an interesting play to be had where Pengu makes abstract like more of a thing, right?
I think that 100% that'll happen, right? It's got to happen. Like it's bad not to bridge some of it over. Like, I mean, we've considered doing that for some of the coins that we do. So like, there's no doubt he'll do something like that. And maybe it does come collateral. I don't know if like you want really the meme coin is like your main collateral on a chain, but it could become a good thing for driving volumes. That's for certain. Right. What else? I feel like we've spent 20 minutes. How long was this? 30 minutes debating Pengu, which I think has been one of the most interesting trades right now. But I do think as though it's more like a 2 or 3x here, or maybe it's a minus 50% here. But it's probably in around the range it's going to be. What other things are you looking at? You're a smart guy. You look at a lot of different things. What are you looking at as well, KBM? Like, what are we all looking at? Do we think the market's cooked here? Where do we think we are in the cycle? Like, I kind of feel like this Saylor thing I put out today that I think that I just keep on seeing the headlines about it. MicroStrategy stock was lower again yesterday. Where do we think we are? Do we think we're midway or towards the end of this cycle already?
I'll tell you this. I think we're way overdue for some sort of black swan existential crisis. I mean, in past cycles, like Michael Saylor looks like the most obvious one, but I don't think Michael Saylor is the cause. I think Michael Saylor is the amplification of like, you know, if you have some sort of other random large wick down in Bitcoin because like there's a bridge exploit or an exchange gets hacked, which these usually has happened by this point in the cycle, right? The last cycle is like, it is very, and you may think, okay, there's two ways to view this. One is like, okay, this hasn't happened yet because like we have just gotten better as an ecosystem. There's more audits. We're more conservative, etc. Right? And that is why this cycle we will see less exploits. Or you could believe that there's no fucking way all the degens got together and weren't too degenerate to have exploits, and like we're just very lucky, knock wood, that hasn't happened yet, right? And so, you know,
definitely that.
But like, right? There's no way.
Of the Bitcoin supply is levered buying it at the highs. Like we have not changed human nature around crypto. Like,
I mean, like it's like the thing is like if there's a 50% candle down, like we end up with a 70% candle down because Michael Saylor gets liquidated, right? Like that's the thing that we're talking about here. And so
I don't think it can get liquidated. There's one thing I have spent a lot of time looking at this now because
it's like 17K. I thought maybe not.
He would have to hit 15K, yeah, or 15 or 16K for him to get. And to be clear, it's not, they're not margin loans either.
Right.
These are unsecured converts. So it's not like he's got a perp trade on.
No, but like, isn't there issues if his stock goes down in price because his stock is the collateral for the loans?
No, so that's the thing. They're not margin loans. Like
not margin loans. So explain this to me then, because you've got your big TradFi brain.
Yeah,
I've got my smooth crypto brain.
So maybe in the past he did have some margin loans, but the vast majority of what he has issued over the last year, 7 billion worth, has been convertible notes, which is a different form of debt instrument. It means that it's equity-like in the upside and it's debt-like in the downside. But he's only got 7 billion of it. So in the worst case scenario, if the stock price and normally when it turns from equity to a bond is if the stock price falls below a certain level. So it would be viewed as a bond. I don't know where exactly the strike prices are for the different debt, but it would be viewed as a bond. Let's say if MicroStrategy dropped 50%, something like that. Even then, like he has $43 billion of Bitcoin, and he has
Wait, can I pause for clarity? Yeah. When it turns into a bond, does that mean he has to start paying like an interest rate, or
so
what,
yes,
to the holders of this?
Rate, whatever.
So wouldn't to pay that interest? Is that when he has to start selling essentially?
So
or find the money somewhere?
Ways a company can default, right? A company can default by either missing an interest payment or missing a upcoming bond maturity. The interest payments that he has got on the vast majority of their debt is either 0 or 0.625%. Okay. The actual convertible note holders decided to forego interest payments in lieu of call options. So they were so degen, they didn't want to get any interest. They just wanted to get call options in MicroStrategy. So actually, a lot of the debt he has issued is very, very low interest rate, although he does have a perp at a slightly higher interest rate.
So what's the blow up case? Like, what is or is there not one? There's got to be one.
This is the point. I think in 12 months, if you ask me this in 12 months, there may be one. He wants to buy $43 billion of Bitcoin using convert notes. He's only bought 7 so far using that strategy, but he wants to get $43 billion of this, and he keeps buying it. He keeps buying it at a high. So if you talk to me in 12 to 18 months, and that debt pile is closer to 50 billion, right? Then then he can really get liquidated. Right now, I think the only thing is, so he has $43 billion of Bitcoin. The market cap of MicroStrategy is 90 billion, which is just crazy. It trades like 2x, just over 2x NAV. But the only way he's able to do this borrowing to buy Bitcoin at that sort of egregious rate is because of that high NAV. So if the MicroStrategy stock, let's say, goes down to like 60, what I think the real risk here is that he probably won't be able to borrow as much to buy Bitcoin. So this whole thing where like everyone thinks he's going to buy $43 billion worth of Bitcoin over the next year, that's the thing I think that gets challenged. And there'll be a lot of FUD, like if it goes below his average price and that sort of stuff. His average price is 63K. To be fair, it went well below his average price last cycle. So it was like in the 30s last cycle, and we went down to 15K. His bond maturity level would have been like liquidation would have been like 5K or something like that. So I don't think he can get liquidated yet. In 12 months, very, very easily, very easily. And I think the only thing now is just it get questioned if the NAV can get attacked. So yeah, he has 46 billion. He has 7 billion of debt. So it's very, very, very low chance he gets liquidated. Very low. But I think there will be a lot of FUD around his ability to continue to issue debt and basically prop up the price of Bitcoin if MicroStrategy stock dips. And MicroStrategy stock has been terrible since the election. Like it had an initial pump, but it's actually kind of flat for the last month, roughly. It was on the election day, I guess it gassed up higher, but
my understanding was that there was something about the use of the debt instruments by a lot of the hedge funds that are buying them as a way to be long volatility. And that like, if the vol of Bitcoin is low, which has actually been the last like unit of time, like since it hit 100K, it's not been super high vol, that like, it doesn't serve as good a purpose in like, if you just want an instrument that's long volatility of an asset.
It's difficult because like, I can understand why I would buy that convert note. Now, the convert note is really like, does this keep... there's very little downside for me. My downside is I have $43 billion that can pay back $7 billion. Like, I don't think he's going to default at this stage.
But that's why when it becomes 47 billion or 80 billion, you can pay down. Yeah, I see. Because then the percent of his portfolio that's just like a weird levered position on his own debt goes up as he issues more debt.
And then, although I don't think he'd get tripped up on the interest, he would probably get tripped up on having to repay some of those bond maturities. So like, let's say he has $45 billion, $50 billion of debt in 12 to 18 months. And the Bitcoin price does start to dip. And if you get a 30-40% correction, he's been buying it all the way up. He'll have to repay some of those bonds. You can't issue new bonds to pay new bonds, but he might have to sell Bitcoin to repay those bonds, right? And that, if he starts selling Bitcoin in 2 years, It's over. People also think that he's been doing this for ages. He hasn't been doing this for that long. Like, and he's really stepped it up in the last year. Like, he started in 2020. Like, this has been a one cycle thing.
I mean, the flip side is there seems to be more maturity in the way he's doing it and transparency than how 3AC did it last cycle. So we're growing as an industry is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. They clearly had perp positions on, right? And they just got liquidated. Like, it's very different what he did. He doesn't have a liquidation price. Like, there's no like level that Bitcoin would have to hit for him to get liquidated. And that's
completely irresponsible purchasing with the sizing that he's doing compared to like where he buys and whatnot. I mean, I don't think anyone in history has ever won with this type of strategy where you're just price agnostic, aping max size at the highs over and over. But maybe.
But he hasn't lost yet, baby.
He's right. He hasn't lost yet. So there's always a first. It does seem like he set himself up to be systemic risk down the line.
Down the line. Yeah. He has 2% of the too. Like, it's not small. Like, I mean, I don't know what, that's, I guess, another just over 1%. If he was to buy another $45 billion, like 1.5%. So let's say in a year's time or 2 years' time, he has nearly 4% of the Bitcoin supply. And then this happens. Yeah, that's an FTX style blow up. That's an FTX.
There's also I think you get into territory too of like, if this becomes a big enough trade. Like, one of the interesting things, I went to like a fund managers meetup recently, like not a crypto fund managers, general fund managers, and like a lot of TradFi guys there, and a lot of them were talking about MicroStrategy because it's like such a fascinating thing if you are some sort of like boutique fund that can kind of do whatever it wants, and like it's just a weird, funny thing to look at, right? And there's definitely a point where like a Melvin Capital or someone is like, oh my God, if we just short MicroStrategy and just nuke the price of Bitcoin, like that math is highly profitable. And like, that is a very Wall Street trade to do. That is like so linear, it's almost ridiculous, right? And I think that very, you have these like we don't have it, I think, as much in crypto. I think it's starting to be more of a thing a little bit behind the scenes, that some people do this, but there is this very big part of traditional markets that is like funds that short and then do shenanigans to make the price go down. And this is such an easy one to do.
Yeah, it seems obvious.
That, like, you'd be crazy not to do it.
Citron Research is one of the well-known firms to do that. Put out a piece on MicroStrategy about a week and a half ago. So they are doing that. To be clear,
they're not ones that do it in size. There's bigger ones.
That's not like real size.
It'll be the one that you need to.
There's ones that can force this trade.
Do you know the whole Argentinian warship thing with Melvin? It's Melvin. No, it wasn't Melvin. It was Elliott Management.
Yeah.
Do you know it?
Elliott, yeah.
Where they bought Argentinian debt for pennies on the dollar because they were defaulting, then waited for their ship to dock, then boarded it with machine guns and repossessed it for the debt. Like, their one ship in their army. I mean, like, that's the type of person you're telling here that could do that kind of thing.
I used to trade a lot of this. This is my specialty. Like, we used to be involved in a lot of those. This is not just them. Like, often when a country does not repay, like this shit happens. Same happened in Iceland. The same with the Icelandic banks. The same happened in Portugal and Spain. Like, there's been various scenarios where like hedge funds basically come up against governments. But yeah, this would be, there's no doubt that they would go after they would go after it away. And it, but like, which what people said with FTX too, right? And Luna, like,
which they did.
That was
that's exactly
that was my.
I mean, like, if we watched last cycle, right? Like, basically Binance acquired a lot of FTX by crushing a lot of Solana by crushing FTX and buying off the estate, right? I mean, that's one way to view what happened, and it's one of the reasons that they're aggressive listing Solana meme coins. But like, I think we started this with what are the feeling right now of where we're at in a cycle, right? And I said I think it feels overdue for some sort of correction, right? And a correction, like a crypto specific like stupidity, right? I also think that there's this other risk, which is like everyone's like Bitcoin's at 107K and he hasn't even taken office yet, right? And that's just like way too prevailing a sentiment. And I think a lot of the things of like, oh, the government's gonna spot buy Bitcoin, like I think that's such a silly, fun narrative, but I don't think that that's really going to happen. Maybe it does, right? Maybe there are skeptics like me, but like everyone is just so bullish right now that like that also makes us feel like we're overdue for correction. And there's just a lot of feelings. Now, that being said, like last time Trump was in office, he made it illegal for stocks to go down, right? If that happens again, Like very nice. Like, I mean, I was talking to a couple of my friends, then we were like, yeah, like we've been given 4 years. If at the end of the 4 years you cannot retire your bloodline, you've done something very wrong. And each of us has taken a different approach to how we want to do that. But like, it is very clear that there is an environment that we were walking into that, you know, is it good for socio-political stuff? I don't know. But is it good for my bags? It seems like yes. And so, you know, like that's sort of the trade-off we've made as a country, like sitting in the US is like, was this the best thing for how the world views us? But like, is this good for like our bags? Yes. And you got to take advantage of that so that you can have optionality later, right? Like, what is your ability? Like, and I think that's kind of how I'm viewing it. Now, I also think there's another side to me, which is like, I remember last cycle. Like last cycle was my first like really deep in the trenches cycle, right? And I remember at the beginning of it, talking to a lot of people who had been there through the bear market since 2016, right? And they were like 2014, 2012, and they had basically they staggered in the bull market with their beleaguered, like they barely, we made it, guys, and they just sold the first pump. And I remember thinking these guys are idiots. And I now look at myself and think, dang, like, am I doing that? Is that where I am right now mentally? In that like it always goes like, it's not ridiculous until it feels like it's gone higher than it should have. And like, you know, maybe ETH sucks, but like also ETH's only at 4K. Like do we really think ETH's not going to, I mean, there's this smooth brain approach. It has an ETF. It is the only thing besides Bitcoin that the institutions can buy right now. We really don't think it's going to hit a new all-time high at least, right? Like, come on, you know, XRP flipped Solana, like, and you don't think Ethereum could hit a new all-time high? Like, are you with what, you know, like that's, I have these two sort of like, there are two things sitting on my shoulders saying each of these things.
I think everyone has that. And I think that, but I think, and I was very vocal about this in September and October. I felt like that was one of those few times where you just, you have to be like very, very bullish. But I don't think I think there's a tendency as we go higher to be like, to become more bullish almost. And it's kind of weird. I see it. It's like people are more bullish at 105K than they were at 60K. Yeah. And you have to say to your brain, like, if you were at 60K and it was 105K, like there was undoubtedly a higher chance that it can go lower from here than it does it. So like you have to switch off your brain, like all the really bullish stuff. And I think the other thing is, if you can go back to the last cycle, we haven't had this cycle for so long, but as we go higher, the more volatile it will get as well. Yeah. Like the volatility will massively increase. And I think that allows you to actually to be a bit more to like know that you're never not going to get a chance to buy it at a certain price. Do you know what I mean? Like when we crossed 100K, I said to myself, we will hit 100K multiple times, in my opinion. We will be hit, like, there's no doubt in my mind we'll hit 100K multiple times. And I think just reminding yourself of that, like, even if you're out of the market or like you want to take profits, you have to be very, very vigilant on those down days, because I don't think we're close to the top. I really don't. I mean, I agree that we have many, many years.
Well, I agree with you on this, that we're not close to the top. This is not the bottom. I think we all agree on that, right? And you're never going to time the top and you're never going to time the bottom, right? And, you know, last cycle, I would feel very fortunate. Like I exited most of my position in December of 21, right? And there was a good 3 months where that felt awful and looked really stupid, right? And, you know, there was still another 2-3x left in the market, right? And then in 4 months, I looked like a genius, right? And I think what's important to people as a trader is like, what are your goals this cycle? Have you hit them, right? And where you end up really like not making it is if you hit your goals and then just set your goals higher every time and don't really have a plan for cashing out. I think it's really easy to get in that mindset. And like, if you have done it correctly this cycle, you will cash out before the top, right? And so that is a really, really important thing that I think a lot of people is under discussed. And also, like, you know, I don't think any of us are sitting here saying it's above 100K and will never be below 100K again. Like maybe, right? But I don't think that that's the general scenario. Like crypto is very volatile. And if you are in this market and you've made crazy life-changing gains and you can take that off the table and sit in cash, no one ever went broke sitting in cash, and the opportunities that present themselves in the bear market, right, are incredibly substantial, right? Like if you had cash when FTX collapsed, like we very luckily did with the fund, like you're good. Like that was the best trade ever, right? Was in cash when FTX collapsed. And how did you have cash when FTX collapsed? Was selling too early. You sold, I sold like a year in advance, right? And just sat in cash. And so I think that that's something too, is like the way that you really make money, or it depends, right? You're going to hear different schools of thought. My school of thought is the way that you really make money is having cash in a bear market. Everything beyond that is gravy. Like I'm not trying to trade new hot shiny things a bajillion X's in the bull market. I think you try and make your bag in the bull market, hold on to a ton of stables, wait for that bear market, and you get everything 90% off, and you enter the next cycle with more knowledge than everyone else who's just coming in, and you kind of know what's going to go do well, right? And that served us very well. Like we literally, we bought 3 Arrows Capital's Penguins. Like we were buying Penguins when FTX collapsed. Why? Because it was just like, oh, this is the obvious trade to me in the bear market. I have a lot of cash. Let me go deploy it, right? And the thing that should feel bad is not missing the top. Missing the top is fine. Entering the next bear market without a giant cash pile to buy random stuff that goes on sale, that should feel bad.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Like I always have that. Like I always have at least 10 to 20% of my portfolio in cash, because there's always a day. There's just always a day where it's like, this is the day to buy it. But you can obviously, like, you can also miss the top and still make a ton of money. What about you, KBM? Where's your head at here? I know you're a bit more short term. It does feel like it's a little bit precarious, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Fed meeting come up today. Should glean some information. I mean, obviously they're just expected to cut, and I don't think no one thinks that they're going to deviate from that. But just because they cut today doesn't mean the market's going to go up more. It's quite priced in. I'd say there's been a lot of pull forward since the Trump election. Obviously, I think everyone can agree to that. So I don't know. It kind of does feel like it's a de-risk type environment potentially. I'm kind of on the short-term side, just playing today's price moves. I don't really care what's said. It's more I just play the price moves. I'm thinking it's gonna like maybe go up and then sell off type thing. But yeah, I'm kind of just prepared for that kind of scenario. I mean, people are quite bullish. There's been quite a lot of euphoria in my eyes, but doesn't mean it can't go higher. I mean, it's kind of blue sky territory on a lot of things. So
a lot of the dino alts, they look like they just hit like a lower high. Sorry, to me, and I was like,
which ones?
Like the dino alts, like XRP, ADA, like the stuff that like no one's like had a massive run up. Whereas the Solana stuff has been pretty weak for the last month or so, even Sol itself. And I'm kind of like, I kind of feel like those are the best shorts. Like these ones which have run up, they just hit a lower high, pretty much every single one on this run up from Bitcoin. And then now I feel like, well, what's going to be that thing that takes them back to, because I'm not super bullish on Bitcoin. Just speed running to 125k here. I think it would probably.
You're saying short the Dino alts, not short, or are you saying short the Solana coins?
No, I was short the Dino alts for sure.
Okay, good. I was like short the Solana.
The Solana coins, I feel like are actually buys. Genuinely, like a lot of these coins, I think because I think retail made money on these Dino alts, and then they're going to realize how difficult it is to pump it. A $250 billion.
I mean, I think the only one that I would be very scared to short is XRP, because I think that if you look at reality is there is a world where XRP gets an ETF before Solana, and that world is very scary if I'm a shorter.
Yeah, it is scary, but at 250 billion, it's less scary. Like where's XRP going? I don't know, but like maybe it's a 2x.
I mean, if XRP gets an ETF before Solana, you don't think that it's gonna pump?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, it'll have a 10% spike, right? But then
I'm more short. I guess I'm more short term like KBN on this right now.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Correct. I think it's the Dino alts that look the most precarious. That's
it's like Litecoin. All those, they all spiked up to try to make that second high, and then like
tried to make that second high. They didn't, and then now you look at
now they look like shit. Yeah.
Look at them versus a lot of the Solana, even the Solana meme coins, or Solana, and a lot of those hit like they're at like they raised a whole month of gains right just now. As Solana, and I kind of feel like, well, those don't look so bad to me. Like, yeah, they could go low, but they would really be going low then. Whereas the other ones, if you look at them on weekly charts, like bring up the weekly chart for like XRP or ADA or I don't know, like a ton of them, like AVAX. Like the weekly charts are honestly a joke. Like that can correct. Like look at this KBM.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm scarred
Yeah,
from like the
this one's
GameStop
hard, though.
days, but I have a tough time shorting something where I don't understand why it spiked.
That's true. I just
Well,
feel
it's just
like
irrational behavior, right?
if that goes down
up.
50%, I don't think anyone even cares.
Right, but are you long or short irrational behavior?
Well, you wait till it gets like peak irrational and then short it. I don't really love XRP as one just because of how like hard this one is realistically. I like ones that are a
Maybe
little
look
more down
ADA another one, or Litecoin. Yeah, you could pick that.
Yeah, those ones for sure because they don't have mind share. Like XRP is just like dangerous for that regard.
So one thing that I think people should watch really closely going into the new year is going to be the like Solana venture investor unlock narrative, because a lot of the Solana that was auctioned from the FTX estate is on an unlock schedule, and there's a really big, I think it's like a $1.5 billion unlock coming up for venture investors in Solana. I'm of the opinion that this is there will be a lot of FUD and you buy that FUD kind of thing, because I don't think that a lot of people where it unlocks are going to dump it, because I think a lot of it like that is probably one of the greatest entries. I think that's probably a lot of why Solana is stalled. You also had some FUD around like pump fund is basically bigger sell pressure on Solana than the Ethereum Foundation selling 100 mil a year because they've sold 400 mil this year. And so you kind of have these two things coming together. And I think that's where you see this cooling off. But I don't know, like there's also just this feeling of me of like, as we mature as an industry, like one of the big differences this cycle is I think CT just matters less and less, right? And the CT sentiment is like, woo, Solana, like actual users. And like, what the fuck is XRP doing, right? And wouldn't it be the most ridiculous thing if all of CT just got absolutely wrecked because TradFi was like, because they were the bag holders of Solana, and the powers that be that actually move the market now are the bag holders of XRP, right? And like, I think that's something that you got to price in as a CT participant more so this cycle than last cycle, is like the percentage of the market that is the mind share on Twitter just goes down and down and down. And not in small part to like Asia matters a lot more this cycle than it did last cycle. And Asia doesn't even use Twitter. Like, what's the WeChat sentiment?
Point, actually. And it got proven, right? Like, everyone thought they'd come in and buy Solana meme coins, and they didn't. they didn't at all. They bought last cycle's coins and they pumped them all up because that was what they knew. And then they were on like YouTube looking at like utility coins. Like they bought AI because that was a hot narrative, but like they definitely didn't buy.
I gotta tell you a coin that like I have a small position in this, but I feel very near and dear about is just fart coin. Seems so obvious to me, and I'll tell you why, because it's so dumb, and it's exactly dumb in the way that TradFi thinks crypto is dumb, and so they're just going to talk about it a lot. Like, this is my very smooth brain approach of like, there's all these AI coins and like they're all like, oh, AI 16Z. No normie is going to care about AI 16Z, just like the word. But fart coin, that's actually funny, and like I think it's funny in a way that a lot of the like meme coins are not actually funny.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I'm a big holder of Farcoin.
It just sounds funny to hear.
I've bought it I've had it the whole way up but I only bought it when I saw TradFi start talking about it, because before that it was like, because in crypto circles it wasn't really like as loved. But as soon as TradFi picked up on it, I actually sold all my AI utility coins for it. I still have GOAT because I prefer the memes, but yeah, the Farcoin, it feels like a multi-billion-dollar coin to me, but at the same time, it probably is due a monster correction at some stage. Like charts like that, I never double up on a coin until I've seen a 60% correction. And it did do one, and it went down to, and I bought it when it was like 240, like on the come up from that. And I think you'll see another one of those. Like you'll see a big correction, and then you're meant to buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Well, we're bumping up against time, guys. So
shit.
With that, Spencer, it was a great episode. You want to give your advice? You've done this before, but what's your new advice on how not to get wrecked now that the market dynamics have shifted since last time we had you on?
Yeah, I think like you can't have last cycle's mindset for this mindset, and you can't be in a bear market mindset in a bull market. Like you have to you have to remember that things get dumb and silly in this space, and that's why you're in it. And there's so much PTSD. I see it all over the place where people just like are in shambles. And you have to realize too that like as time goes on, your view of the market participants gets less and less comprehensive. Like it was weird last cycle how much of everything just happened on Twitter, right? That is not the norm for any asset class, and it is not the norm going forward. And so the more that you can look outside of your comfort zone, the more that you can be in the mindset that you think you need here and put those losses behind you, right? Your bag that you bought in the bear market didn't pump, whatever. Look at the new stuff. But you have to temper that with like one of the new paradigms, especially on Solana, is narrative rotates quickly, right? Like you have to remember the pitfalls from the last bull market. Like don't get stuck in mechaverse this cycle, right? Like how do you not do that? That's the thing you got to think of, is like there are new different pitfalls, right? That was not the pitfall in the bear market. I don't know anyone who was buying mechaverse in the bear market. The pitfall in the bear market was like you had something that seemed like a blue chip for the next cycle just out of nowhere rugged, right? Now the thing is like everything is pumping and you ape the thing like once it's pumped, right? I think that's like a lot of the people that are like in the trenches I worry about. The pump fund scanning trenches, like that worked really well for quite a while, but it's so PvP and it is so like negative sum game that like there are much better risk adjusted plays I think right now than being in the pump fund trenches. That might be my boomer take, but I think that a lot of people that spend a lot of time there could have already made their cycles gains elsewhere at size and exited them, and like and with better odds, because like it like your loss rate is just so much higher there, and your risk adjusted win rate in everything else right now. I mean, dude, even Cool Cat's pumped. Like what are you doing? Like it's just crazy, right?
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree there. Don't get stuck in your old ways and be ready to adapt. Always the
ABM, stop shorting stuff.
Yeah,
I just short daily trades. People think I'm just like shorting all the way the fuck up. People just don't understand my time frames.
If you short every day on the way up, it's the same thing as
I don't short every day. That's heresy. That's a lie.
That's a very good point.
That's a lie.
It's a day trade. It's a day trade, but I'm short every day.
I don't hold my shorts overnight. I just hold them throughout all the days.
Listen, I'm always long too, gents. I'm always long too.
Yeah. All right, Spence. Well, it was great having you on. Thanks again for coming on. You're one of the few second repeat guests. I missed the first episode actually, but I think OSF has missed this one. So we'll have to get all three on for the next time. But thanks for coming. And we will see you guys next week. I don't think we'll do a show on Christmas Day. But is that right? Probably KBM. No show Christmas Day.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
not working hard.
not.
No show on Christmas Day, everyone.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we will see you the week after, probably, or in the new year.
It's not the grind set you got to be in, guys. You got to be.
I know. We got a lot going on.
Look at them retired, short and stuff.
I know.
Discussing MicroStrategy in their comfy chairs.
We've made it. All right.